Self-awareness and self-honesty. We are everything human, part 3. I read a poem in part 2. We all have periods of being in just a great darkness, dark vortexes. And a study out of the University of Maryland was found that 80% of our thoughts are negative. That's real. But we can also go into joy, bliss, happiness. That's the other side. But right now we're talking, people for the most part do not hide their happiness. They don't hide their joy. They hide the inner darkness, the depression, the anxiety, the sadness. And I'm not saying people should be showing this to everybody. I'm just saying to be at least honest with ourselves, perhaps share it with some loved ones. Let some people know our struggle, because no one knows you if they don't know your struggle. No one knows you if they don't know your struggle. You see somebody who's successful and rich and good looking and beautiful house, beautiful car. You say, oh, what a great life. Well, you don't know that person. To really know them, you'd have to know, what did they have to go through? What did they have to sacrifice to achieve that? Then you know them. Aghast, we entertain ourselves as we review the injustices perpetuated against us by the evil of the world. Most people have a story, a bad story, as part of that 80% of negative thoughts. This person did that to me, that one did this to me. There's so much evil, so much badness in the world. Of course there is. But our suffering also, we, for the most part, co-created it. At least I know I have. The worst things I've gone through, 99% of it, I definitely co-created it. And as I've seen in life over my 82 years and with my patients, I've seen, but we're co-creating it. Most of the time, 99% of the time. Oh, what victims we tell ourselves we are. When you're a victim, you get angry. So many people walk around angry because we have a victim story, and we've all been victims to some extent, but generally we've co-created it. But we're hiding that darkness, those 80% of negative thoughts, we hide it. And it might be necessary to in many situations, but at least be aware that that's going on and have the self-honesty. You could choose who you want to tell what. How fun to swim in the negativity, in the sea of negativity. People say, what do you mean fun? Well, yeah, that's entertaining. People like horror movies. You like horror movies? Well, people have these little horror movies going on. It's very entertaining. I mean, it's very captivating. We get in that thing, we're drawn to it. Believe it or not, we're drawn to the darkness. I remember when I was a teaching assistant at Barnard College, which is a women's college affiliated with Columbia University, where I was doing my graduate work there. This cage of rabbits was on the floor. By mistake, it was a smelly, crowded situation. By mistake, the door opened, and within a minute, all the rabbits went out, maybe 10, 15 of them, walking all over the floor. No surprise, went out. The surprise was, within 5 minutes, they all went back in that smelly, crowded cage. That smelly darkness, we look at it as terrible. That was home. So people become at home in the dark caves within. So that's the lure, that's the attraction to that. But even when we're suffering, depressed, anxious, panic attacks, worried, we know there is a light veiled in the darkness. Even when in that darkness, we know there is a light. It's veiled. We don't see the light, but we're in it. And the whole system of the honor therapy, the way of honor, is to be able to know and to be able to get a handle on that light while in the darkness. Not just looking back and say, wow, I went through that, I'm so glad I'm done with that. No, right within it. Right within it. Say, one of the derivatives of the commandments of honor, I hope to come back much stronger than ever. Right where you're in it. I'm suffering, I'm miserable. I hope to come back much stronger than ever, God willing. That's a derivative of one of the commandments of honor. The commandment of honor that's a derivative of, call it the warrior's commandment. I'm grateful for the power I gained from hardship. So the whole idea is to know there's a light veiled there, and I've come up with the most powerful thoughts in the universe to give us a handle, a way to turn that switch on towards the light. And I call them the 4 commandments of honor. I wish you well. I take full responsibility for co-creating my reality and my problems. I'm grateful for the power I gain from hardship. And then one of 2. If you believe in God as I do, God, your wish is my only wish. If you don't wish to address God, then it's, I seek always to serve my highest values. Then you have to commit to doing that 3 times a day. That commitment and doing it 3 times a day, the repetition is preparation for application to achieve internalization and stabilization. It will stabilize you. That's the light switch when you're in the darkness. That's the light switch. You're upset, you're in the darkness, you're angry, you're at this person, you're in negativity, you're angry, which is not good for your cardiovascular system. And you go, I wish you well. You balance it with that. That's a light switch to start getting a little light in there. It's not all of a sudden a bright light. A little light goes on in there. A little light goes a long way. No one sees what we hide behind the smile. People are smiling. I mean, I know people, my patients, whatever. There are people who are smiling and miserable inside. You know how many suicides there have been with famous actors and actresses? They always look happy. They're smiling, rich, having a good time, and then they killed themselves. Bathed in fears, secrets abide behind our eyes. There's that secret that we don't want anybody to know, we don't want people to know about. There's that secret going on. It's a little dark veil over our eyes. There's a really constructive way to deal with it. There is. But very often people have to, and I'm going to tell you about that, and I've already told you some with the commandments of honor. And then you also have the bridge. What's the most honorable thing to think, say, and do? So any situation you're in, that's the question. What's the most honorable thing I could think, say, and do here? Remember that the negative thoughts that pop into your mind, they don't define who you are. You didn't choose them. You're not responsible for them. You're more a reflection of the thoughts you choose to balance them with, the constructive, positive, honorable thoughts. How can we rise above the lure of sorrow? You might think that's a little unusual to talk about the lure of sorrow, but I want to tell you, just like those rabbits were attracted going to that crowded, smelly cage, we're attracted to that sorrow. It's home, it's familiar. Go over and over and swim in it. I'm just giving you other thoughts to help balance that with a light switch to get a little light in there, which that little light goes a long way. The Lord, there is a way, but who has so badly suffered to become sincere, but to really transcend your own suffering? You have to be sincere. You can't lie to yourself. You have to be very sincere. You have to be totally committed to the way of honor. Then you've got a chance. You've got a good chance of moving forward. When you go the way of honor, you are more resilient, and you come back with more wisdom, more compassion. Who has suffered enough? Who has suffered enough to forever walk the way of honor? You can't achieve wisdom without suffering. You can't even totally commit to an honorable way unless you've suffered enough. You say, you know what? I've done my thing. I've done this. I've sought my own happiness. I've sought just my own well-being. Wasn't honorable how I went about it. I sold my honor for money, sex, pride, whatever. Wasn't worth it. It was a bad trade. Honor before everything. Honor before life itself. When you come to that point, honor before life itself, it's a different way of life. But you have to be totally aware of what's going on inside. And you have to be totally honest about it, with yourself at least, and then totally committed to the way of honor. This path will lead you to very positive, constructive results. Very positive, very constructive. And rapidly. Well, at this point, before we go on to part 3, I'm going to open up to questions, and anybody wants to unmute yourselves, please ask or make any comment you wish. People love to hear what I say, but they love to hear what you have to say even more, because when you speak, people feel less alone and they feel part of a community. So please speak your truth.
This is Tracy. Can you hear me?
Oh, Tracy, yeah, you're coming across loud and clear, Tracy. My dear goddaughter. Good.
I thought it was really interesting what you were saying when, for this topic is self-awareness, self-honesty. We are everything human. Because I was reading, well, first of all, I'm religious and I find power in going to confession and everything.
No, you're really a true devoted Catholic, a beautiful path.
Thank you. So I was reading just actually earlier today something about that, how pretty much the truth will set you free when you're honest with yourself, and when you pretty much take full responsibility for co-creating or creating your reality and your problems. And then, of course, it's followed by consequences. And
then we want to follow it, as we talked about, with constructive, honorable thoughts. Don't just, when you see that negativity, 80% of which is negative in our thoughts, we want to definitely follow it with constructive, honorable thoughts. So we don't have to be trapped in that at all. But unless you know, there's two types of thoughts: the ones that pop into your mind and don't define who you are, and then the thoughts you choose to balance it with that you choose. People don't even know they can choose thoughts. They can, and I always demonstrate to people, you can. Right now, everybody, have this thought 3 times. I wish you well. Just think it 3 times. 6-year-old could do that. Anybody could do it. Any human. Animals cannot. Other animals cannot. So that shows you could not only choose your thought, you could choose how many times you have the thought. And I know you did it rapidly, naturally, easily. So yeah, please continue, Tracy.
Well, the point was along with at least, going off the title and everything, self-awareness, self-honesty, we are everything human. The whole point is to be honest and transparent with yourself. That way you can grow and move forward and not repeat the same mistakes, or just to try and be a better or more honorable person.
That's the whole goal of what we're doing, to become a more honorable person. And what's the most honorable thing to think, say, and do, where honor becomes the gold standard. Honor is the foundation of true happiness. So we're not looking for happiness on this path. We're looking to be honorable. And then that's the foundation of true happiness. That's exactly right. But I want to tell you, I haven't met many people that are totally honest with themselves. I really haven't. And that includes myself in my younger years. I mean, it took a while for me to really start seeing what's going on in myself. So I see it. I've met very, very, very few people, handful, that are really honest with themselves. Most people, by the way, this is strange. It sounds strange. Most people are not interested in the truth. Oh, no. Most people are not interested in the truth. For most people, the truth is highly overrated. Oh, yeah. For most people, the truth is highly overrated, whether it's about themselves or other situations. But most people are interested in confirming their beliefs. Yes. Surprise! They're interested in confirming their beliefs more than knowing the truth. Most people. That's why we have the craziness in the world. The truth is secondary to that. I'll give you more of a glimpse of what's really going on. They're more committed to confirming their beliefs than they are knowing the truth. And that's one of the greatest tragedies. So being sincere, self-awareness and self-honesty, very rare. You can do it. You just may not have suffered enough yet to totally go there. But you will. Beautiful, Tracy. You really inspired me to come up with, to add these things. Anything else you'd like to say about this, Tracy?
Yes. I'm going off of the back end of what you said, and you said you may not have suffered enough to get there. Can you kind of repeat that part?
Well, Firstly, if you haven't suffered at all, which is practically impossible, but if you haven't suffered at all, you're not going to achieve wisdom. You can't have compassion because you don't know what it's like to suffer. I've been through a lot of difficulties in my life, and it made me very compassionate. Well, if you're a seeker of truth, you'll gain wisdom from it. If you're not a seeker of truth, you can become very bitter and angry about it. So the suffering, that's why we say, I'm grateful for the power I gained from hardship. Because these hardships will lead to growth. Just depends how much hardship you have. And then you get sincere. You start saying, you know what? These things I'm telling myself, it's not, whatever I'm doing is not working. Whatever I'm doing is not working. It might end up to God. God, I'm going to turn it over to you because I'm not doing a good job with my life. Well, that's a big statement. I'm not doing a good job with my life. That's an honesty, sincerity. Help me understand what's going on. Help lift me above what I'm doing. I need protection. I need protection against my own darkness. I had that awareness when I was 31. I knew I needed protection against my own inner darkness. I knew that. And I turned to God and found ways. I mean, in my case, I became a Baha'i. Other people turned to whatever their religion they're going to turn to. It's beautiful. But you find then something to help bring that light and love within our hearts that free us from the cage of self. It's a prison. Most people are in prison. You could be in a prison and be happy if you're spiritual enough. But if you get to that level. But most of us have to go through enough suffering to give up on the lies. Most of us have to suffer quite a bit to give up on the self-lies because it's not working. Does that help you with that, Tracy? Does that address what you're asking?
Oh, yeah. I just wanted you to repeat kind of the same thing that you said because I wanted to kind of capture that wording.
Well, I'm really glad these are points you always kind of inspire me to go deeper in because you're so deep and we have a good understanding with our communication with each other. You can achieve all these things, the self-honesty, the self-awareness, the way of honor. I see so many of you already are. So many of my patients, I call my people, you're on that path. I see it. Now, let me tell you the way you lie to yourself. Almost all the people are lying to yourself. I'll tell you how you lie to yourself. The big lie that you're kidding yourself about. You are far more vulnerable than you let on. You are far, far more vulnerable than you let on. People don't know how vulnerable you are. You have the mask on, so you don't even know, you yourself don't even know how vulnerable you are. When you feel hurt, jealous, insecure, inferior, humiliated, neglected, left out, overwhelmed, you cover it with anger or aloofness. So people think, well, person's just angry. Well, that person's so aloof, so distant. You are vulnerable. People get very destructive in their vulnerability. So you at least need to face it in yourself. You want to be able to share it with your significant other. If you don't, you're going to do some destructive things. Very few people could say, I feel insecure with you. I know what's going on, but I feel insecure. Or say to themselves, I just feel insecure with this person. I feel neglected. He's talking to this person, that person. I feel neglected. I feel hurt. I feel humiliated by this. Just think in your vocabulary, how often you use that vocabulary talking about things. I'm jealous. See, a person will say, I'm very secure, therefore I don't get jealous. You're flirting with that guy? Doesn't bother me. Go ahead. Whatever. Whatevs, as they say. Conversation will be, hey, you're my woman. Or woman say, you're my man. I'm so somewhat possessive of you. If I didn't love you, I wouldn't feel that way, so it makes me jealous. Appreciate if you don't laugh so much at that person's jokes. That's a reasonable conversation. How many of you have ever had that? Very, 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 very few. Instead, people get angry, they get distant, take revenge. Maybe they start flirting with somebody, get revenge, whatever. Destructive. I know that 99% of you never told another person you're feeling jealous, you're feeling insecure. You never told another person you need more attention. 99% of you. Hey, I need more attention. I feel left out. You never said it in your life. You hide it. It's a time to know that's what you're feeling, be honest with yourself, and then you can decide whether you want to share, particularly with a significant other. You've never said it. How many of you ever say, I feel humiliated and hurt? Maybe a little more often, but not much. How many of you show you're really angry? All of you. How many of you have gotten aloof, like you just look, you don't even need another person? All of you. Very few of you, maybe 1 out of 1,000, will be able to be honest and say the vulnerability is there and then share it, with a significant other in particular. So I'm showing you a path, a way to be in terms of self-awareness and self-honesty. We are everything human. We have all these things, and we can go beyond it. But first, we have to really see what's there. Tracy, anything else that you want to add or say about this?
Yes. Actually, there's more because it's so interesting how this topic today is going along with what I've been reading. When we're talking about self-honesty and self-awareness, it also comes to knowing about experiencing shame and guilt. And I think that for example, for here it says, guilt is knowing I have failed, but shame is knowing I have failed in your eyes. But what is the honest part? What is the truth in the self-honesty or self-awareness in that,
Right, you say, I really feel I failed in your eyes. I'm really sorry about that. I feel badly about it. I'm a little ashamed of it, but I really did my best. I want to know, do you forgive me for that? Because I need your forgiveness. I care about what you think. That might be one conversation. I'm not giving a prescription for all situations, but that would be looking honestly about what your experience is. And maybe 1 out of 1,000 you will ever say those things, even if you felt it. We are everything human. We feel shame and guilt and hurt and humiliated and abandoned and neglected and inferior and jealous and insecure. Every one of us, me, you, all of us have these. And then we want to deal with it constructively, honorably. It's doable, totally doable.
So when, it's only because with self-honesty, let's say you feel ashamed of something, even to yourself, even that you feel so ashamed, you cannot be honest with yourself.
You might say you feel ashamed. You may not want to tell anybody about it. You as a Catholic can go to confession and tell the priest, but may not want to tell anybody. You might want to tell your therapist. But some things you might feel so embarrassed and ashamed about. I ran from a fight when I was 14. I felt like a coward. I couldn't talk about it for 50 years. I'd been in therapy at different times. I never told my therapist. It was that deeply embedded. I was that ashamed by it. Then eventually, as I got stronger, I became a world champion powerlifter and bodybuilder. I started going past that thing. And then I did a lot of crazy things after that. I stood up to people. I never backed down again from a fight because I was terrified of feeling that shame of being a coward. Never backed down again. Stood up to very difficult situations after that. But I couldn't even talk about it for a good 50 years. So, yeah, I was embarrassed and I felt shamed by it, deeply shamed. In fact, I was so shamed by it when I ran when I was 14. By 20, I went to a deep depression over that because that was really against my whole way. I was strong. I thought of myself as a tough guy. felt humiliated in front of other people that saw that happen. A couple of guys came at me. I didn't go back at them. I ran. So it's a little bit understandable that I would go because they were coming at me, but still I went through that because I was a very macho kid. So I've been there. I mean, I know these things, not just in seeing other people or my patients or my studies. No, I just look inside my own life. It's like my father said to me, son, I have a lot of good advice to give you. Not because I've been so smart, just I've been so stupid. I've done a lot of stupid things, so I can guide you a lot. That's part of my credential to really help you.
I feel that, of course, I agree with you. I also feel that in order to be your most authentic self, forgiving yourself of your past. I mean, your past is what made you who you are. I mean,
let me say something about that, Tracy. If I hadn't run from that fight when I was 14, I never would have become a world champion powerlifter. I was still working that through. At 65, I took the title of strongest drug-free man in the world for my age and weight. Why? I was working that through. At 70, I became a world champion bodybuilder. Why? I was still pretty much working that through. So I've got it pretty well worked through. But at least our traumas that we go through is what greatness comes from. That's what achievement comes from. You look at the Depression era, like my father, he was very poor growing up. I mean, extremely poor. He became very rich in his life because he never wanted to be poor again. Didn't want his family to go through what he went through. Those traumas and those insecurities drive us to achieve. Every greatness that happens, if a guy's just mellow and relaxed and happy all the time, he's not gonna knock himself out achieving a lot. He's not. But the ones who have suffered and traumatized, those are the ones who are going to do something amazing. So when my patients come to me with pain, I see potential. I see the pain, but I see potential. I say, wow, I can do something with this person. I love the people that see me. They share with the struggles, the pain they've been through, and I see enormous potential. Whew, beautiful. What a privilege to be a witness and guide in the lives of my people. Wow, beautiful. Yeah, Tracy.
Not much, just I feel that in order to be my most authentic self is to truly accept myself 100% for my past. And like you said, our thoughts, what do you say? Our thoughts are not us.
The thoughts that pop into our mind do not define who we are. More reflection of thoughts that we do. And Tracy, I've known you a long time. You're an extremely genuine, authentic person. I mean, there's not a lie in you. I don't.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I'm positive. I don't think you can maintain a lie.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in you. If you're covering something, I'm not saying you come up with everything right away, but you know what's going on, and eventually you'll deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm positive about that. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, I feel like the only way for me to be able to release or feel good, even being around people that I care about, is to be honest, be truthful, be the topic, self-honesty, self-aware, and to be okay with being who I am 100%.
That's what I see, and I accept you the way you are. You know, people have all these things. I mean, if you love the people, it's the whole person. That's how that goes. Well, Tracy, I'm very appreciative of and grateful for your input, as always. Anybody else have something you'd like to ask or say?
Doctor, this is Maria.
Maria, welcome, Maria. Good to see you.
I just want to say how much I love this lecture, because I have suffered enough to live the way of honor.
I know that about you, Maria. No, you're one of the leaders in the honor movement. You're the real deal. I know that. You
So I
emanate that.
appreciate.
You emanate it, your
Yes.
tone of voice, the face, everything emanates that. Genuineness.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the lecture. I love it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanks, Maria. It's been my pleasure and my privilege to be able to present to you self-awareness and self-honesty. We are everything human.